I want to show you one quick optimization you should do or should be aware of when you're writing triggers and things like that. Notice that in this example, we only really care about the city column. We're just saying, hey, if the city can be null or it has to be distinct, either one. Okay, but there's an operation we could do here. Let's select splat from representatives. Where say somebody gets married, Susie Smith gets married, and so we need to update Susie's record. We say update representatives set last name equal to, I don't know, say she marries a Jones, where ID equals 2. Okay, so that would update Susie's last name to Jones. But if we're doing a lot of updates and things like that, look at what's going on here. We're affecting the last name column. Okay, we're not even touching the city column. However, when I do this update, I said we need to run this trigger on an update. So this check will still execute, which in this case, on one record, not a big deal. But if we were doing millions of records, I don't know, say we're Amazon or whatever, some big site, and people are changing their names all the time or changing other stuff that's causing triggers to fire. Well, we don't really want to have to do this select, this group by, this count, all this work, unless it's absolutely necessary. And it's only absolutely necessary in the case where the city column has changed. In this case, we're not changing the city, but yet all this work's still going to be done. So there's one way we can get around it. We can say if update, and update is a function here that it exists in the context of a trigger. I can say, hey, if they updated this city column, then begin, and notice these begins and ends get a little clunky after you have a bunch of them in here, but begin and if they updated the city column, then let's go ahead and do all this work because we need to make sure that we don't have a duplicate city. But, otherwise just skip it and let's just get out of here. Let's not waste our time. So let me just comment this out for a minute. In fact, I want to get my inserts back. So don't blink. Let me get the inserts back. Okay, so now I have my inserts, and just to show you that this if actually does work, I'm going to say print running the check. Okay. ... All right. So if we don't see this print, then we know that we didn't do all this work. So let's run all this thing. Instead of doing this update, I'm going to comment the update out for now. So here we go. Create the table. Create the trigger. But if they didn't update the city, then don't do all this work, and then insert into all this. So run it and we see running the check. One row is affected. Running the check. Running the check. All these inserts. They did update the city column. I mean, it's really an insert, but if an insert is an update in a way. Basically, we're changing the value. There's a potential that we updated it. So notice that there's not a separate insert function. Insert is a keyword. That's why it's showing up in blue when we've used that word several times. But there's an update function. And so we did update the city. We did update the city. We did update the city. So that's why we get running the check. Let me just drag this up so you can see all the output. It ran the check for all 3 of those inserts. Okay, but now let's do this update and only touch the last name. We're not going to touch the city column. So run this by itself. Notice there's not running the check going on. The trigger's still fired, but the check, we didn't update the city, so we skipped all this work. And that's nice. Oops, that's nice. It's an optimization. So anyway, keep this update function in mind. You don't want to make your database do more work than possible.